Okay, so should I be sitting over there and doing all that? I don't want, you shouldn't get stuck here all evening, Howard, that's not fair. Okay, super, thank you.
Can you just tell me who's online, please, so I can check it?
So to those of you who just joined us online, you just joined us because we were having tech issues, not because there's something wrong at your end. So welcome.
I just wanted to do a microphone check. Betsy, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. Thank you.
Can you make the screen so we can see them? All of them?
Well, Betsy has okay. All right.
Okay, when they talk, they'll come up. Okay. So what else do we need to know, Howard? You should be able to go. You rescued us. Thank you. Oh, okay, all righty. So then, since we are doing this Zoom, let me remind everybody, you gotta get your microphone in up super close, almost kiss it, or else the people at home won't be able to hear you. And sometimes the people at the other end of the table can't hear you either, so it's important to do that. Okay, on. Approval of minutes.
Actually, I have one more.
Oh,
oral
I'm sorry,
comment.
sorry, right, and now that we have, yes, so
I
Nona, more,
just wanted
or-
to pass along a message I got from Jane Bourne, who said that there is also Detrichia on Spring Ridge Trail on Windy Hill. And so I don't know if it's Cordylanthus or Detrichia, but we need to go check it. She asked that someone take a look.
so who's gonna do that?
I will do it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
which tree? Spring Ridge. It's great to hear from Jane again.
Right, maybe next time, you could bring a little of each and show us so that we could learn more. Thanks.
Yes, I'll do that.
Any other oral communications? Anyone in the audience? Betsy, I can't see you, but did you want to say anything?
Oh, just thank you for bringing us all together.
All right, welcome. Okay, so now if there are no more oral communications, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Everybody saw the minutes that were attached to agenda. Are there any? I have one.
See that, yeah, thank you.
Okay, I have one just selling thing under Public Works. Under, let's see, no, sorry, under Open Space, little 3. Which is under Open Space, line 1, 2, 3, 4. Comment on the inclusionary fund, should say fund with a D. Anything else? Anyone else has? If not, can someone move that we approve? Peter moves, second. Nona seconds. All in favor? Very good. Let me just say before we move on, there were several things in the minutes that were action items that are not on the agenda this time. So those of you who had little tasks, next month, you'll be on the agenda. So moving on, site permit. If we'd known that, we could have gotten in. Next time we'll try that. It should be, no site permits. Tree permits. These evidently have both been done. I don't know. Catherine didn't.
Visit two properties. One is on, what was it, 150 on Stonegate? And that was a single Coast Live Oak that is healthy, but it's bifurcated and the main trunk is overhanging a good part of the house. I wouldn't want to live there with it being, so we approved that. And then the second one was on Wyndham. And there are two Douglas firs, Coast Douglas firs. And both of them are leaning away from their house, but onto the property of the church. One of them is leaning a lot. And they have in the past been maintained professionally. You can see that people up there, and but not recently. And they look kind of, in my opinion, scrawny. And there is a real danger that in some storm they might come down. Maybe not both at the same time. We approve those two, and especially since there are so many beautiful redwoods in that same area.
Great. Thank you very much.
Nobody will, when they're gone, nobody will ever miss them.
Thank you, dear. Thanks for being so frequently the tree guy.
Yeah, thank you, Marion, for
We're a good team.
Yes. All right, so moving on to old business. Oversight of town-owned properties. Frog Pond, Yogi.
Still working on finalizing the MID report. Have to consolidate our individual feedback and have a further discussion with Howard as well, if he has some additional notes on it. And then I'm waiting for the finalization of the school project to take a look at how to call for a meeting of our subcommittee at that point in time to see how they clean up everything.
So we'll have a subcommittee meeting in a month or two.
Yeah, I mean, they plan to be done by September, so probably late September.
Okay. Are we planning, is there another, usually in September, there's another chipper day. Are we planning any kind of a work day for before
It's-
those chippers?
It's still on the list, but being or walking around there, it's pretty clean right now. So and that, as I said, also depends on the school cleanup because the side towards the benches is very clean these days. We will make that determination.
Okay. Very good. And then you were away when we did the little trial of the horses.
Yep.
Eating
I
the
missed that, yep.
trachea. Teresa, did you talk with Trails about?
Not have a meet, Trails
Doesn't
did not
matter.
have a meeting. They had no quorum, so I wasn't able.
Okay. Sorry, that's okay. Not your fault. Thank you. Okay, spring down, nothing new. We're coming into the new fiscal year, so there'll be a midsummer, late summer mowing for fire reasons, and then there won't be another mow or weed whack or anything until the end of next winter, unless we plan some volunteer thing for planting in the fall. So town center.
No update. I can get an update on Shady Trail.
Uh-huh.
As I brought up last time, the big patch of thistles, and I was out with Bev on something else, and she told me she had taken all the thistles out. So they're gone. So that's really good news.
All right, moving on to committee and town cooperation. Public Works, we should have asked Howard to stay since he was already here.
Yeah.
Marianne, you had asked to have this invasives along the trails and public right of ways.
Yeah, I had asked to put this on the agenda. As you know, I run and hike 40 miles a week, and so I see a lot in town. And what I am seeing is the trails, or some of the trails, particularly in Westridge, they have Dietrichia, but also Cervantes. They have Dietrichia and star thistle. And it's on the trail, and it's on the part between the trail and the road, and some of it is actually in the road. And even I, in my property, probably from my dog, I get Dietrichia now. I have to watch it because people walk on the trails. Our trails are contaminated with invasives, and everybody is taking it home. And so this is an issue. I don't know how to address it, but I wanted to bring it up because it's too big a job for Bev or me or anybody locally to do. So we need to talk to Howard about that.
Have you considered going to the Trails Committee and talking with them? Because they, they take an interest in that, and Howard goes to their meetings and listens to them, so it might be a more direct route to getting something done.
Teresa, could you take this to your husband?
No, I won't take it to my husband, but I can take it to the committee.
Okay,
That's the way it's done.
okay. It's, there is an urgency to it, however. Because the stuff is going to bloom, or the star thistle is already blooming, and the tree here is not blooming yet. When does the trail committee meet?
It meets the Wednesday before our meeting.
In the
so it
morning.
Would have been at 9 o'clock. It would have
Yeah, I
been
can't.
last-
Yeah, I
It would
can't.
have been last Wednesday had there been a quorum.
Yeah, I'll prep you, and then if you could. take-
I've got it.
But I can tell you where it is. Yeah, okay. Right, but it's also Cervantes, and that's not West
No,
Ridge.
but to the extent that Westridge does,
Who do we need to
should-
talk to?
Mary Ann, go and talk to the Westridge Committee. Would that be helpful?
Can, oh, can you send me an email with his email address? To what?
Okay, well, you two will work
Okay.
that out, because I think that's a good, it's a good idea to go directly to people who can actually do something about it. What we can do is, worry about it, but we're not the people who can actually accomplish something, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
The one thing that we should all remember, that it's not just foot traffic and automobile tires and construction equipment, but also it's driven by wind. This
So probably part of the problem along the trails will
The
be
thing is, although,
the adjacent property owner, it spreads into those properties, and the property owners aren't doing their part, then the trail will never be able to. really
the only
affect-
thing, Judy, I was just thinking to take this to Trails. Trails would take it to Howard.
Yes, but Trails will take it to Howard officially
Okay.
at their meeting in a way that's more effective than when we say, gee, someone ought to.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else about that?
Nope.
Okay, number 2. Publicizing alternatives to rodenticides.
Yeah, she didn't completely get it. The reason why I wanted to bring this up, those of you who have read the sort of Woodside local paper, I forgot to bring a copy. I get it all the time. They're Mountain, it's a Woodside local paper, and it's being delivered in Portola Valley. And they got in the last paper, which I think was 3 weeks ago, a beautiful write-up about their rodenticide-free town. And basically they're doing what we have been doing, but we didn't get a write-up. And so I was thinking we should tout our horn. And I'm sorry I didn't bring the article because, then we can sort of copy what, but I was also going to reach out to Woodside and see a little bit more what they have been doing. But I doubt they have been doing more than we did.
So can we just move this to next month's agenda?
Yeah, we
And you'll
can.
come back with send us the article
Yeah.
before then.
Yeah.
And talk to somebody in Woodside and
Yeah.
have a little
Yeah.
action plan of some kind for us. I mean, it doesn't need to be big. It's just that, once again, here's something that's put here for us to be concerned about, but then.
Well, we
without
have a
enough detail-
subcommittee. We have a subcommittee. We just haven't done anything.
Right,
for
so
a
it's
year.
more appropriate to bring that to the subcommittee and let the
Yeah.
subcommittee.
Yeah.
Decide what to do and then.
Right.
And then bring it to us and
Yeah.
then we'll do it.
Yeah, that's why I brought it to the agenda.
So who's the chair of that subcommittee? It's you, Nona. Who else is on the subcommittee?
Megan, you're not on it?
That is
Teresa?
not I.
Paul and Teresa.
Okay, so
Teresa
you guys
Paul.
will have a subcommittee meeting. sometime.
I'll take a photo of the article and I'll send the article to the subcommittee.
I think that subcommittees have to be reauthorized or reappointed, something like that. Sorry? So, I mean, Rodenticide hasn't been meeting.
So
for a
Dennis,
while,
that has been a
so-
standing committee, right? So the standing committees need to be done too. Okay, so I'll put that on the list for the agenda for next month. And
I'm confused. I have a couple different things that are going on the agenda, so are you saying that we don't actually have a subcommittee right now because we haven't been
That's what
reauthorized?
seems to be the case.
I would say that
what years or something? I don't
would say
actually
that
know.
this is the real world and we'll put it on the agenda next time to re-officialize the committees, but in the meantime, they're not breaking any Brown Act
Right.
rules by meeting. In the meantime, let the subcommittees run amok. All right. Number 3 is budget for open space maintenance. And the background on this is, as you know, at last month's meeting, there was concern that we were going to have to cut way back on what we were able to do in our recommendations for maintenance of open space because we had heard that our budget, that not our budget, but that the general fund budget for this kind of stuff was going to get cut way back because the town was in such financial distress. And, but then I've also heard that money got put back into it for those purposes at the actual meeting. Mary, so Mary, I'm gonna need you to bring me up to date on what actually happened with that. Were the funds for open space maintenance actually cut or were they maintained with the use? Did they slide some UUT money sideways and say they would use? So they did that. There was talk of it, but they actually did. So we actually have about the same budget we've had before then.
Would it be all right if we spoke into the microphone so those of us at home can hear?
Okay,
And that is still in the general fund. So that has changed from last month.
no, it's always been out of the general. It's always been out of the general.
Last
fund.
month, we were informed that all open space maintenance monies had been stricken from the general fund and were funded by the tax.
The
by the-
UUT.
by the
No, I think
UUT.
it's that they
Oh.
moved the UUT monies into the general fund and the
Right.
general fund still
That was
pays
the
for it.
discussion.
Right. The question
And
is, did
weren't
they?
Stricken, it was that they had been cut in half is what we discussed last time.
Right, but so then the budget meeting was after that, and we were told that there had been, that it wasn't that dire after all. I mean, informally, we as the committee formally weren't told that because we haven't met, but.
So for purpose of minutes, Mary, am I correct in capturing that you will look into this and update us officially? No.
Yes, I'll look into it and update you officially.
By the next meeting, Mary, or can you do that? Can you look? Okay, good.
Now.
Okay, so you'll look while we're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Mary's gonna look that up and she will get back to us before the meeting ends. So we'll move on, rather than simply waiting here, and we'll move on to committee town
Is there a
cooperation.
room for public comment?
Yes, go ahead, Betsy.
Thanks very much. And thank you to Mary for speaking into the microphone. It helps because those of us at home don't know what anyone in the public is saying otherwise. I attended the finance committee today, and they reiterated what I believe happened at the last council meeting. The budget will be set for $44,000 in maintenance. It was your original request. You probably know better. I caught that it had been reduced from the original request, which was somewhere around 90,000. That's the number I'm less confident about, but 44,000, which was the budget agreed upon and is current. So if that helps for planning purposes. It was also stated that Open Space Committee, Conservation Committee would collaborate and offer advice to the town council who would act on it.
Yes, thanks so much. Very
Yeah,
good.
sure.
Very, very good. Appreciate your attention to detail as always. And your memory. That's the other thing.
So can I just then, for clarification, so that's the number I heard last time, the 44K. Now, 35,000 had been approved by the town council a few years ago for every year for a number of years for the maintenance of Springdown. So if we take 44,000, is it a correct assumption that we will not have 35,000 to do Springdown?
Since that was a 3-year thing. Those 3 years are past. Since then, it's been much more informal than that. We have requested, with the subcommittees on each of the major open spaces has made a plan for the following year and given that to Howard with our requests for what gets done. Howard has looked at that list, sort of prioritized it himself and estimated what it would cost. And then he has put that in his budget request. And so there's never been so year to year, the number has changed a bit based on what we're doing. So there's not a set number to match.
Do you know what the number was last year? I'm just trying to get my head around. We probably have to need, if we want to keep it up the way we have been doing it, we'll probably need as much money as we had last year. Is that a correct assumption?
Right.
So it would be good if we knew.
Like I think that's about it, because they were spending way more on Springdown than they were spending anywhere else. And it doesn't come out of a pile called conservations
No,
things. It goes
yeah,
into this more general things. So it's a little harder to track, but it's been based on the specifics of what we asked for and then his estimating it and then the council approving it.
No, I understand. I fully understand that. It's just, I would like to that we are very clear. So let's assume we spent 35,000 last year for Springdown. I can't see if the total amount is 44,000, that we will have again 35,000 in 2024. And if that is the case, then we need to consider, what does this mean for Springdown?
I think our role in this is, well, once again, we've formed a subcommittee that's going to meet with an open space subcommittee. And that group will sort of prioritize what we should be doing at the various places. And I think our job is to recommend what we think needs doing. And if there's money for it, they do it. And if there's not money for it, they don't do it. But I don't think we should start by hamstringing ourselves by saying, oh, there's not as much money. I think there's about the same amount of money. It's my understanding now that they've made up the difference. They were feeling very short, and they made up the difference by using the UUT for 1 year. Is that correct, Lynn? That was my understanding. So they moved the UUT, part of the UUT, into the general fund, and they used that for funding the maintenance of open space. There's a lot of concern that it be 1 year only and not become an ongoing thing. But that's where we are for the year.
I have a question about the amount that we're spending on Springdown. I may be able to help get us closer to the number. I unfortunately don't have it right in front of me. Are we spending on Springdown anything other than what we spend on Go Native?
Yeah, the town mowing.
But that's
costs
Go
money.
Native doing the mowing.
No, the mower. Go Native is doing weeding. And the town staff is using the mowing machine or the weed whacker. Because-
Go Native weed wax
They weed whack as well. Oh, they weed whack, yeah, selectively.
and pull.
Yeah. Because there's a cap, we learned this from Justin when we talked to him about the town center, there's a cap on what can be spent on each.
Parcel.
Well, no, not the parcel, each consultant contractor. Thank you.
Oh, there's a max.
So
per
there's a maximum per
consultant.
contractor.
I've never
So
heard that
they
before.
are splitting the maximum between on Go Native between Springdown and the town center. And I don't remember off the top of my head what the maximum was, but
Right.
for context, that could get us closer to
It's
understanding. how the
interesting,
money's
'cause
spent.
my understanding with the splitting that was going on was we were splitting their hours up in order to be more timely with our mowings at Springdown. So we were juggling, we would sign with some effort, because one of the problems is you have to sign up Go Native for certain dates, like in November. And so we mapped their dates out for approximately when we need them. And then we juggle whether they go to Springdown or to Town Center based on what Springdown needs, because the needs at Town Center are less acutely time sensitive.
There's some of both. He's balancing the number of days as well.
Right. No, I knew we had to balance the number of days, but then what we've been involved in is do you go here or do you go there? But I hadn't heard before that there's a maximum per contractor they can spend. I'd never heard that. So in some ways, that's good news because it means that maybe some of the work should be given to some other contractor because then we'd have a little more flexibility with the timing. Because Go Native, if we're contracted just with Go Native and then they can't show up, it's time to do something in Springdown and things are starting to go to seed and we want them there in the next 2 weeks. And somehow they can't make those times or they haven't been scheduled for those times. We're sort of hamstrung. And if there was another similar contractor that they were giving part of the work, then we'd have more flexibility. But
Or Paul's volunteers from Edgewood.
Paul, nobody can hear you. Just look where your microphone is.
We have enough weeds.
I know, I know.
Well, so that's one of the things. I think if we've been rescued financially, in fact, and the number is in ballpark what it was before, then we don't need to be as panicked as we thought we might be. But clearly, we could benefit from more workdays.
It's not. It was 90,000 and it's now 44,000. It's half. It's
Was
half.
90.
Yes, we spoke about that last month. It was 90,000.
The proposed, if I understand correctly, Marion, it was the proposed budget was 90,000. Was the actual budget 90 for this, for fiscal? What are we, 2023 fiscal that's just ending? Okay. Do we know? That was your question to begin with, I thought. What was the actual budget for this
From-
past fiscal year?
I have a similar recollection what Betsy was just saying. I remember the 44,000 and I remember the 90,000, but you know, we can talk here
Can you tell
forever.
Megan from what you're seeing? Yeah, I think it's silly for us.
It's
to sit
silly
here
for
and
us, but-
Guess at what happened. We
Well,
need to,
yeah.
we need to actually find out. So I'll get, Catherine's the chair. I'll get back to Catherine. Catherine can talk to Howard and find out the specifics of what the number was last year and what the number is next year. And that will guide us. But once again, it'll determine what actually gets done, but it shouldn't. I think our job is to be recommending what should be done, what we think is important to do. And we need to know, obviously, we need to stay within reasonable limits in terms of not asking for pies in the sky, but if they, one of the ways to feed back to the council that it's not adequate, if it's not adequate, is to put in reasonable requests for reasonable care for these properties and have them look at the shortfall, not us cut it way back and
Exactly.
make limited recommendations.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. Very good. Hmm. Open Space Committee. Nona,
Open Space hasn't met since our last meetings, but we will be meeting next week. And at that meeting, presumably we'll have appoint a subcommittee to work with this committee subcommittee on the joint recommendations for open space parcels.
great. And the other thing that was sort of hanging, that was an action item for last time, was there was a subcommittee of me, Nona, and Megan to write a letter supporting the open space position. And we haven't met as a subcommittee because we were going to draft and then come to you when we had something that you could wordsmith. And so we're partly there, but not all the way there. Okay. Wildfire prep.
I missed the last meeting and I haven't seen any draft minutes, so I don't know.
Okay. Trails and paths.
No meeting.
No meeting. Yes.
The wildfire prep group didn't meet. The meeting was canceled.
Okay. Thank you. There's been a lot of that.
No,
I think it's summer.
It's summer.
Okay, routine town communications. Let's see, I'm gonna have to look on with you here because I'm missing that page. I thought I had. Kudos. First thing is kudos.
No kudos this month. Yeah, I'm working on it.
No. So last month is still in progress.
It's in progress.
Okay. Very good. Tip of the month is Catherine. She's not here. Do we have a suggestion for her? Anything important?
Well, I suggest people look for the tricky and get it this month before it goes to the flower.
Okay. And maybe, is it too arcane to put in it the difference we were talking
No,
about
no,
between the tricky and the other?
No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I think that will
Confuse
confuse.
people.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And how about what's blooming now?
Star thistle.
So this is supposed to be the positive thing, the good thing.
Not much. The tar blades are flowering.
Starweed?
Actually, my toyons are in full.
Oh, my
And
toy.
the cordylanthus is blooming.
Please speak into the mics.
Pelosis.
The one I saw was Pelosis. There is rigida around, but I didn't see it last. I haven't seen it in Portola Valley.
Do a lot of people have cordylanthus in their yard?
Yeah, and the flower is very insignificant.
Well, again, and once again, what's blooming now, the point of what's blooming now was to improve, was to talk about natives that are blooming that we would encourage people to put in their yards.
Right.
Yeah.
So that we would get.
So maybe
more-
the
more
toyons?
Planting of natives.
Well,
So,
The elegant tar plant is just gorgeous at this time of year. The only problem with it is it blooms in the morning and by noon it's closed.
What's the big tall thing that's blooming by the creek? Nobody knows?
Yeah.
It looks like it.
Dita and I didn't know. We looked at it. Remember, we didn't know what it was.
It's an enormous thing that's, and it looks sort of vaguely composite tie. It's got some yellow flowers, but it's a variety of different, and it's like this thing.
It's the only thing that
Blooming.
grows.
Can I go
probably
out
some
and look at it?
media out there.
But it's this
Still
big. No, maybe it's not
They
big.
get big.
Paul's gonna go see
So,
it.
but yeah, go
I
look.
was gonna go look and bring us back a report from the field.
But anyway,
Another?
So I think Toya, yeah, so Toya's about another.
Epilobium is just starting, and by the time the tip gets posted, it might be in full flower, because it's just starting.
Yeah, I have some in bloom now. Yeah, the
Okay,
other one could be Onaglezy.
Is that something people that would grow well and they easily can get it for the yard?
The epilobium?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Oh, we did.
You have some, I gave you some.
Okay.
okay.
I probably only know the English name.
So I'll pass those suggestions on to Catherine. She'll be back in a few days, I think. Backyard habitat. I'm sorry. What? Oh, yes, go ahead.
So I don't know whether you only do flowering things in terms of interest, the Mahonia, the Oregon grape, the bluebirds are flying in and out of eating happily. So in terms of your garden being interesting.
Good, yeah, interesting. Thank you. Elderberries. Okay, lots of suggestions for her. We'll let her choose which she wants to do. Okay, so now going on.
So
to-
regarding backyard habitat, I did speak with the 150 Stonegate because they have a nice front yard, but I still need to coordinate with them.
Okay. So let me just, not to put you on the spot, Lisa, but I'm just going to ask you, have you heard about, just to check on our outreach, et cetera, have you heard about the backyard habitat program? Do you know that it exists? Okay, good. That's good.
I'm looking for help.
No, well, when we first started it, we had a whole flurry of awards that we gave, we made that nice award, and there are several of them around town. And at the December meeting of the council, they get sort of formally awarded, et cetera. But then in the recent years, some of it's pandemic and some of it's just because the obvious sites kind of stepped up and were given an award. And since then, we've been having a little trouble finding sites that are appropriate. So we're looking to improve our outreach.
Judy, what about your yard?
You can come look at it.
Okay.
We could, that would be an outreach thing.
could.
That would be reasonable. Yeah, we could do that. With a little link to the application.
Right, with the link to
Yeah.
the, yeah, that's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just remember, anything that goes on the forum has to go through the town. We can't post it on there ourselves.
Right. All right, so now D, here's the conversation, major oh, here comes Paul back from the field.
What's the big one?
Paul, speak into the microphone, please.
All ones are Media sativa. There's both milkweeds are blooming, spice bush, Calvesia, and the other one I saw. Oh, Toyin. What was the color? The colors are Media sativa.
Is there an English word for it?
I don't think there is. It's
There.
Coast tarweed. Thank
Coast
you.
tarweed.
Coast tarweed.
that's
Much
right.
easier to remember.
Yeah, it's actually one that the Native Americans harvested for seeds. That's why it's sativa.
Uh-huh.
They're huge this year. I had not seen that.
Interesting. Okay, so the revision of our charter in the agenda packet.
I wanted to just interject something, may I?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, just before you start a new subject, I was able to find the answer to the question that you raised earlier about how much we spent on Springdown last year. In fact, I have the whole budget here. Annual Springdown, this is fiscal year ending now, sorry, June 30th. You were awarded $52,600 for Springdown alone. The total budget for last year was 112,600, though that included town center maintenance and a biologist consultant services.
How much was the town center? Can you see that?
Yes, I can. It was 3,500. And I did bring it to the attention that that technically is not part of open space. The biologist consultant, I don't know, but think was related to Frog Pond, but you can confirm that.
Right, yes.
Then in addition to that, Frog Pond was awarded $45,000. And Ford Field open space, 5,500.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
That's from
Yeah.
the previous year.
That's the previous year. So the point that was made there that it went from 90,000 to 44,000 was certainly relative to last year, quite a haircut. Not because open space doesn't stand with you on its need, but because we hadn't been consulted, and there's a concern that we be a part of the process about what are the parameters.
The question, do we know what we actually spent in 23 budget? Yeah, the actuals for the 23 fiscal year?
It's a very good question. That would be a Howard question.
Because I think I can say for the Frog Pond, the 45,000 we didn't spend because we couldn't remove the trees. And that alone, I think, was $25,000 for the pine tree.
Right. Right. Yeah, so there's budget and then there's actual. And then there's this year. So basically you're saying it was 112,600, including the biologist for this current fiscal year. And that
For
next
the
year-
last year just ending, correct? Yeah.
Right, and that for next year it's 44.
Right.
Okay,
So that's a huge haircut.
huge. Okay, thanks so much, Betsy.
Sure.
Really appreciate. Okay, so going back to the charter draft revision, there are two things here. One is the subcommittee worked to come up with the draft revision that's dated draft 6/2023. And the one that's previous that said it was revised 2/10/21. That revision, in fact, was not a full version. It wasn't that the committee looked at the charter and decided anything about charter. It was that we changed our meeting time. And every time you make a change like that, it goes to the council and they change your charter to match it. So this, as far as I know, the actual language in the charter hasn't been looked at for a long, long time. So what we did when we looked at this was we looked back at the previous one. We thought about what we actually do and want to do. And we tried to bring it into alignment with what other charters look like these days. That is that they have a mission. We didn't have a mission before. So we wrote this up, as you can see, and I'd be very interested in having a discussion about what the group as a whole thinks of both the substance of what we've included and also then just the elegance or lack thereof of the language. So we can wordsmith it a little bit if you would like us to do that. And we can also add or subtract if you think it's important to do that. So I just would like to kind of hear some feedback about it.
So the objectives part is the mission. I don't understand what you meant with mission.
Mission is,
Where is the mission? I'm looking online here. Where's the mission?
it's at the very beginning of the draft.
Yeah, I'm at
This
the
is
thing.
it.
There's no mission. That's why I'm
This is
confused.
the one that's dated 2/10. That's the previous.
Oh, I went too far. Thank you. Oh, there it is. Thank you.
Okay, and just a little overbearing mommy here. It's really helpful if you read through all this stuff before you're actually
Mhm.
sitting in this chair so that we can have more robust discussions that you've actually thought about things.
How do you want to How do you want to handle this?
Why don't we just start by anybody who has something to say about it? Start.
Okay, well, I'll just sort of throw in something then, which is, the old one said, encourage acquisition and enlargement of open space preserved lands. And I was wondering if there needs to be something specifically, not necessarily about more acquisition, but stronger protection or something. Pardon?
Retention.
Yeah.
Protection. Where, under which section here?
And
No.
on the objectives of the last version, it was number 3, was
Mhm.
encourage acquisition and enlargement of open space preserved lands.
Right.
And I don't really,
I think,
Did I
I
miss
think
that?
when we talked about it, we thought that I think this original charter was done before there was an open space committee. And so that function was sort of within this committee. And then when open space was formed, it's like, that's now open spaces business. So
But
I
the
think
main-
that was the thinking of,
but how about protection then?
it. Absolutely.
Because the maintenance is that's what we focus, maintenance.
Right. It was the acquisition, that says acquisition and enlargement, right? So we thought, I mean, we can certainly put it back in, but that was I'm just explaining our thinking. Protect, so we can say
Yeah.
protect, maintenance and protection,
Protection and maintenance.
right?
I guess all I'm saying is I didn't really see open space preserved.
Right. So that would go, I think, under duties and functions.
Yeah.
And would someone like to, it should go up.
I would
near-
make it
nearer the
number
top,
1.
Not to, yeah, and we could make it number 1. Would somebody like to suggest good language for that?
Well, Judy, I think that
Uh-huh.
one of the things that I'm seeing in both the objectives and duties lists is a little bit of redundancy and overlap, and I wonder if that actually is already somewhat addressed. It's a very specific responsibility, but it seems like it may already be addressed by some of these broader duties and functions, such as advocate for environmental issues and provide information to town residents, or even propose improvements and programs to enhance the physical environment.
Well, remember now, the old one is the old one. So you're talking about bringing some language from the old one into the new one?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's
On the
redundancy because
page,
there are 2 different
wrong
documents
page,
here.
Yes. Go too far.
I guess the other,
But wait, before we lose this thread, because I think it's a really important one, what would we like our language to be? Protect? and
advise the
maintain?
town on protection and maintenance of open space preserves or parcels.
Okay. On protection,
Maintenance.
maintenance.
Of town-owned
Um,
open space preserves.
Okay,
Would anything about attempting to enhance their native cover be a good thing to put in?
That would be in the advice.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to go down a level. Can you read that?
what we just said?
Yeah.
Advise the town on protection and maintenance of town-owned open space.
Preserves or parcels, open space what?
That-
I don't think it needs to say parcel,
No?
just town-owned open space. I think it probably covers it.
Now,
I
that
don't know.
doesn't, so that doesn't cover town center. for example. So should we,
We're not getting rid of number 3, right? Which says ongoing cooperation with public works to enhance and
different.
maintain town-owned property.
yeah, that was the one that we wrote to include what we actually do with these 5
That's-
most important
That's an
parcels.
action item.
So I think,
Wait, no, it's not.
no, that's included in number 3, right? So I think number 1 is more to to pull out and emphasize the importance of our open space.
Mm.
Right. So maybe it should just say protection because maintenance is,
Mhm.
maintenance is included in number 3.
Yeah.
What do you think about?
I'm
what do you
sorry,
think about
there are
that?
things on 2 sides. and
Okay.
I'm not sure which one
I'm not saying.
Yeah, if we, let's take the word maintenance out, otherwise we have it already in point 3.
Well, there's a difference between public works and the town council.
Oh,
right?
that's
So
true.
one
right.
says coordinate with public works
That's true.
and the other is advise the town.
So maybe Public Works is within the town, so maybe we should have an ongoing cooperation with the town instead of with Public Works.
It seems to me that the bullet you're trying to add relates more closely to number 6.
Yeah.
And could be, acting as an advisor and liaison on matters regarding conservation and environmental issues, including,
Protection of open space.
and then we have a description of when we're a liaison to the town, the council, and when we're advising public works.
So are you suggesting that
Yeah.
the line,
But I would move it up. I would move it up in terms of,
And I would actually change the wording to just say advise the town, not act as an advisor. I'd rather
Advise,
just see it
okay.
all in sort of
okay, Yeah.
imperative.
right.
advise and liaise.
I would just say advise.
Just
Yeah.
leave, advise the town. Okay, but I think the idea that we want to be part of protecting open space is, even though it's the open space committee, that's mostly their job. That we do have, I mean, I appreciate your point that we should say something about it too. I think we were being careful not to step on toes and not to look like we were trying to, take over somebody else's job. But
There's sort of 2 different kinds of protection. One is sort of habitat protection and one is kind of land protection. It's in a sense. And I think the Open Space Committee is more concerned with the integrity of the parcel. And, we talk more about the wildlife value or the habitat, the invasive species and the species. So
Maybe including preservation and enhancement of town-owned open spaces.
although it's
Or-
in a way, it sort of demotes it if you put it in under number 6. And if we're trying to emphasize it,
I don't know that it necessarily needs to be emphasized. I think that the duty is that we're advisory to the town, and that's one of the issues that we advise them on. I feel like that.
I wouldn't think we need to emphasize it except for what we've just been through with Ford Park. And because of that, I think we do need to emphasize it.
how about we make it number 1?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
No,
got to
no,
be
that's
number
what
1.
I had put it
Yeah.
in as number
Yeah,
1.
I think we're in agreement.
Yeah. But-
Tree
but-
removal, okay,
but-
I mean,
But what I had put in as number 1 was what I had just read. You advise the town on protection and maintenance of town-owned open space. Should I
Now,
leave out,
second bullet.
should I leave out maintenance there because the maintenance is included? And I just advise the.
no,
town
we
on
just said
protection?
public works and town council. Oh, we said town, okay, we changed it. to
No, we-
town.
Well, did we? We talked about it, but did we do that? What I currently have now is that's number 1, advise the town on protection and maintenance of town-owned open space. Do we leave in maintenance because maintenance is covered below? Just because we want to emphasize it? Or
Well,
do we?
again, we're talking 2 different things here. You're talking about what do we do with public works and what do we do with the town council? And I think that was your point, Megan, and that's your point, Nona, if I understood correctly, that we want to be clear that we are, we're not discounting either activity, but we are indicating that those are not one and the same thing.
Yeah, one is strategic, the other one is
And
execution.
so maintenance in this instance, if we're talking, in my opinion, if we're talking about what we're advising the town, It's not about how many times a year we mow. It's the fact
How much money
that-
we need.
It's the fact that you need to actually mow with sensitivity to islands of habitat, et cetera, et cetera. How you do it is important. And then with public works, it's when do we get it actually done, which also includes how you do it. But am I
Right.
misstating, Megan?
No, I think
Is that
that's-
relatively close?
I
Really
think we
good.
have 3 or 4 conversations happening, but yes, I don't think there's any disagreement happening.
Right. So maybe we'll just rewrite it with this in mind. Number one will be advise the town on protection and maintenance of town-owned open space. Maybe we had started this with the things we've been, asked to do by the council. So it was sort of ordered in that way, but we'll get a little more philosophical. Maybe we'll move number 6 up to number 2.
I still feel like we can combine your number 1 and number 6 without making the preservation of open space less important. I think it's just putting in the context of who we're advising.
Yeah, I think 1 and 6, our new 1 and 6 should be 1. I agree with you, because that's the strategic angle. And then the Howard, the number 3 is like, is the execution. It's a separate one.
Okay. Okay, so we'll hook number 1 and number 6 together, and then number 2 will be, number 3 will become number 2.
So can we just go just for a second back to mission statement and make sure that what we're saying doesn't also need to somehow be specifically folded into some aspect of the mission statement itself, meaning preservation. We do speak in the mission statement about conserving the rural quality, blah, blah, blah. But it's also preservation of the
To protect the open space could be a mission.
it's not just protecting the open space. It's about having sensitivity to the uniqueness of Portola Valley and the surrounding area. I'm not saying we fold that specifically in, but that's really what we're talking about, is that we have this treasure that we are trying to preserve, and that once you cut down a 600-year-old oak tree, it's gone, or 300 or 100, or I don't care, when you get rid of these majestic, beautiful things, they cannot just be slapped back together again. And that is part of our mission. And are we stating that clearly enough? It's not just a duty and function, it's really our mission.
So if you look at the wording in the mission, some of it is the traditional wording, conserve the rural quality of Portola Valley, assist the town in maintaining an active, tranquil residential community for all generations, compatible with the physical constraints and natural features. And then we added in here to meet the goals of the conservation element of the general plan. And this was really, we added this in, remember, to sort of emphasize that the general plan is important, and that the conservation element of the general plan speaks to acquisition of open space and preservation of open space and all of that. So
I totally agree, Judy. All I'm
should
asking is,
be, yeah, no,
are we stating that
strongly
overtly enough?
Yeah. So
In the way we
so
approach, I get it.
right.
I just want.
would somebody like to suggest some stronger wording in there, or some more specific wording?
I was wondering in that, the second sentence of the mission, kind of going back to what Paul said, where we have preserved the natural condition of the area. Would it be appropriate to say preserve and enhance, or preserve and where appropriate, restore?
Yeah.
Just, as Teresa says, when it's gone, it's gone. And
Right,
so
right.
unless we restore it or enhance it or something, I mean, basically what we're doing at Springdown is
Right.
not preserving, we're enhancing and restoring.
And one of the things we do is when tree is cut down, we suggest the next wood to take its place. Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
take it 100 years, but start
Well,
with a seedling.
Should we say then, Nona, should we say in that preserve, comma, enhance and restore?
all these three.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
yeah. Does that do it enough? for you,
I'm
Teresa?
just asking the committee, I mean, because I know we, as a subcommittee, talked about this, but what I'm hearing tonight they're great suggestions, and I'm just suggesting, rather than just put it under duties, that we actually elevate it to our
Uh-huh.
mission.
So then we change that to preserve, enhance, and restore the natural condition of the area.
Yeah.
And encourage people to live with nature. That's what the residents we want them to do is come in here, and participate.
Educate and engage town residents on these issues. That was
Yes.
what that was. And we were trying to use words that were lofty enough for mission statement, if you were,
Has
without
to be
being
lofty.
without being absurdly
We
kind
were
of la da da.
looking for collaborative language as well.
Yeah.
The one word I would take out of the mission statement
Uh-huh.
is attractive. Because I
Okay.
think that's just too subjective.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people think a lawn is really attractive.
Yes, yes. I think that was left over from.
Well, in
something.
natural, can you exchange the word attractive with the word natural?
Yeah.
Do that?
Yes, yes. Okay. Else?
Th- Is that a new sentence as the town inevitably changes? Da, 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 da.
Yes.
This,
Now, we
weak,
put
I
that-
think this sentence weakens us.
We put that in there specifically to address the fact that up until about 5 years ago, thanks, Lisa. Take care. There wasn't that much, change had a little seed before a few years ago.
Or
And
maybe,
now that change has become such a huge thing in this town and so controversial and so divisive in a way, we thought that we should,
then maybe we should take out the word inevitably. The word inevitably is sort of, things are going to change, it's going to be inevitable, and the tree is just going to inevitably being cut.
no.
I
that's
don't
not what I
like
mean.
the word inevitably at all.
Yeah.
We'll do the best we can, but if we can't, we'll
Well, I
just
don't
say we
think-
tried.
I don't think that's what it says at all. I think it's saying that change will inevitably come with to the town. I mean,
I-
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but do we have to use that
And that
word?
we will strive to keep these values central to all development conversations so that as changes come, we don't give up on these values. Those changes don't mean we roll over and say, okay, we have to have more housing. Therefore, never mind the scenic corridors, never mind the trees, never mind that these values stay central to all of the conversations about the changes that are going to happen.
No, I
I
understand.
like the way you just said it, Judy, where if you said, as the town inevitably changes, these values will be ever more central to all development
Yeah.
conversations.
That's
what
better
we
than
want to
striving.
strive to,
Yes.
but that
Yeah.
it's becoming
Yeah,
ever
good,
more
good.
important.
Yeah.
These values will be, just a second before.
Yeah.
Wait, let me get this down. Wait, let me get this down first before. These, will we take out strive? These values will be, what did you say, Nona?
Ever more central.
Ever more central.
It will be ever more central to keep these values. I think that's
Ever
what you
more
said.
central. These values will be ever more central to
To
all development conversations.
Yeah. I think
Will,
I think
will
that-
need to be. Huh? Will need to be.
No, no, no,
No.
no, no. You're weakening
Will
it
be,
again.
or maybe you don't need ever more, it just will be central to.
Will be
it's
more
central.
central.
Will be
Yeah.
increasingly central.
No, because they're already very
They're just,
central.
they will be central.
Central. So Dieter said he also has a problem with the word inevitable.
All right.
It conveys basically that you're going to roll over and let it happen.
That's the same way I feel.
And
About that word.
we can say that differently. Well, you know, it will happen. And we're prepared for it to deal with it, you know. And but inevitable, I think.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not wedded to it. I'll take it.
I
out.
would take it out.
I think, I think I agree with Marianne's first instinct, which is that that sentence doesn't quite belong in the mission statement. It's more of a statement about the importance of the mission statement.
Yeah. It
than
weakens the whole
Part of the
thing.
mission. Yeah, I think that the mission itself is it's what we're here for. Part of our duties are to participate in review of development issues, and these are the core values that we will have in mind as we review those. And it, as we just said, they're already central to development conversations. They will continue to be central. It's almost a non-statement. in
Yeah,
the context of
it's
it.
a
That's-
non-statement.
And I think, I actually, I've been pretty open to the rest of this, but I actually fairly strongly disagree about that because I think our mission, with the last couple of years, I think our mission has changed a little bit. And I think that our mission now is to push back as we can to protect the habitat and the aesthetics and et cetera, in light of these changes that are being pushed upon us. And I think if we don't say something
Well,
about
then-
that, we look like the committee from 30 years ago.
Then maybe we want to say what you just said instead of the inevitable.
I'll take out inevitable. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, let's take out inevitable.
So then what we're left with then is, as the town changes, the committee, no, as the town changes, these values will be central.
Or you
To
could say
all
this
develop-
mission.
Oh, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
This mission. As the town changes, this mission will remain will be central to all development. conversations. A little unwieldy, but it captures the idea. As the town changes, its mission will be central to all development conversations. Will remain central.
Remain is fine.
Will be key. Will be of key importance.
Or
Well,
or
that
should it say
sounds
something
it's
like this
something
committee?
new, and it's not something new. It's a maintenance of what's been there before. So it's not that it will be, it's that it remains. Right?
No, it is new. It is new because until last year, nobody would have ever dreamt of cutting a 300-year-old tree down.
Right.
So
right.
it is new.
It's, I think it's to emphasize that, you know, we're going to try to hold lines in the sand about what's pushing us.
Exactly.
So, but I think maybe, how about, as the town changes, the committee will something like be a, you know,
Increasingly vigilant.
will, yeah, will vigilantly keep these values central to all development.
Yes, yes.
conversations, something like that.
That's a strong sentence.
Okay. Well, we'll rework it. The subcommittee will rework it with these inputs in mind and bring it back to the next meeting. Anything else anyone wants to say?
Yeah, the
for
one
our
thing
drafting?
that came to mind, I just really don't know how to word it. Noise is becoming an increasing issue. You know, there are ever more pool pumps which are noisy. There are ever more air conditioners that are noisy. There are ever more generators. Do you hear the noise of the town when we have a power outage? You hear nothing but generators. And I think all of this should be in noise canceling boxes, which costs money, but it would cut down the noise. So I understand, but unless you focus on it, you know.
So I think that I think it would be a good thing for us to put on the agenda and talk about
Okay.
and make a suggestion to town council. I'm not sure I want to elevate it to our
Yeah,
charter.
well, we
at
have
this point.
something about, I was just thinking noise is not in there. That's what I meant. We have, it triggered it when I was looking.
Well, it would easily fall under several of these duties and functions. Conservation and ecological issues, maintaining and enhancing
Only I think
habitat.
that the wildlife impact on noise, I mean, the human impact is not our concern. I mean, that, because that there are different building codes and everything.
But we can weigh in.
No, we
on
have
any
been
of-
weighing in on light and on noise, and it's also for us. Yeah, noise for living things. If we don't weigh in, who is going to weigh in?
No, I agree. I agree. It's part of our role and we should do it. I'm not sure. I think
Yeah.
it needs to be at the charter level.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Mary,
Oh, I didn't have anything very exciting. I wanted to say, as times change, as opposed to the town, maybe it would make us feel less like we're on the cusp of catastrophe here. We just know that times are changing and that we're going to stay on top of it.
Yeah, thank you.
agree?
That's why you're getting the big bucks, Mary.
Yeah. As times change.
It's also less controversial.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little less in your face.
It's good, it's good.
Have one more minor comment
Yes,
for the
please.
duties. Number 8 should have a verb like the rest of them to start it off with.
Okay, thank you. Prepare.
There is a verb
No verb.
missing, duties.
Good. And is there a duty we forgot? I mean, this is worked off things that we, that thing that we looked at before. What's the town assigned us? What have we sort of assigned ourselves? And
Adequate funding?
that's the council's duty, not ours.
Yeah, but if we don't ask the town council, how would the town council know?
Well, I mean, that's in here repeatedly, really. It's included in number 3, the cooperation with Public Works is, we make those budgets. I mean, we make those requests and all of that, yeah. Nona, you had something?
Yeah, I have a couple other things. One's just a question. Does meeting the goals of the conservation element, does that cover the scenic corridor completely? Because I think that there should be that's a collective town thing.
I was thinking the same thing.
Is
actually.
the scenic corridor within the conservation element? Referred to in the conservation element?
Look at it to be sure, but seems to me that's something that in addition to open space, the scenic corridor is a major concern we have. And then the second item I wanted to suggest adding is under coordination.
Wait, before we go on to that, your point about
Maybe- Maybe we could have another point. I don't know of the verb,
Add
have a
scenic-
verb with the scenic corridor, monitor the scenic corridor or something like that.
well, or should we, this thing about advise the town on protection and maintenance of town on open spaces and scenic corridors? Is that the place to put it? Or do you
Yeah.
want it to have
I
a-
think that's great, but
Okay.
I mean, the council has to approve this, so if they don't want us to do that.
Well, then
They
we
will
change
tell
it.
us.
They'll tell us.
But once again, I mean,
Yeah.
Or
need
we
to
fight for
design
it.
What we think is most appropriate and.
Yeah. What else? And then under coordination, we're coordinating with Woodside Fire Protection District. So are
Right.
there agencies that we should
Yes.
specifically call out?
Should, where it says other town committees is appropriate, should it say other town committees and local agencies or something like that? Or should you want to call out Woodside Fire specifically?
We could call out Woodside Fire because there is an element of vegetation and we have been working with them in the last 2 years very closely.
And it's the, their one of the things that's confusing to me is there's several different fire things, you know, there's the Woodside Fire Protection Agency, and then there's the fire marshal, and then there's.
No. There's the,
chief, and then
no.
there's the-
They are all the Woodside Fire Protection District. And then it's just, it's the WFPD. And everything below is, you know, there's the chief, and then they're just positions.
Okay. Okay, so we'll add Woodside Fire
Who
Protection
else are we
District.
working with?
Well, then I put other town committees appropriate rather than trying to list them because you know,
You know, that's
it's a
fine.
little well, it changes with time too. Sometimes we're doing more with trails and then,
Town staff. We coordinate with town staff, right? Yes,
yes,
of course we do.
but is that, we coordinate, but is that it's sort of covered in duties and functions? Do we list it separately?
Can't hurt.
Town. Just other town staff and committees?
Resources or town resources.
Other town staff and committees as appropriate.
Doesn't have to say other, it could just say.
Town resources
staff
and
and
committees as, yeah, or staff and committees.
as
Yeah,
appropriate.
the other, that's right.
Okay.
Take the word other out, yeah.
Okay, good idea.
Because we might sometimes talk to the planning commission. Who
Sure, sure.
knows? Yeah,
Yeah, that's why it's better not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
And then other local agencies, right?
Oh,
That's what.
Other local agencies, yeah, because we might talk to
local
Fish and
agencies,
Games,
other.
local agencies, yeah.
local agency.
And at that point, you could actually, since there was a good emphasis now on the, coordinating with, same sex pairs, then we would have had.
Yeah.
Not all the others, but
Right.
this is such an important.
Exactly. Okay. Sounds good. Right, if there's nothing else, we'll
This is
consider
good.
these. Thank you for the suggestions, and the subcommittee will meet again. So I'll change the draft. I'll incorporate all the new language and I'll send it out to subcommittee and we can talk about it. Very good. Okay.
Right.
Anything that anyone else wants to bring up? Anybody from the public have anything they want to add before we close down the meeting? Thank you for attending, being with us. Appreciate as always. Okay, in that case, I'm adjourning us. No, not if we've done all the business. If you've completed all the business, Robert's rules says you do not need to vote on adjournment.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for joining us. Over something.